I made this video for those people that feel like they push themselves, they succeed, they win, but they still feel empty. Or the flip of that, people that feel like they always have to try and be present, but it really takes away from their successes and their wins. You see, what a lot of people don't talk about is that it is absolutely possible to be a present high performer. So often high performance is associated with hustle culture and that you have to be continually on all the time. And in doing so, you're never actually really here and present. And it's not always the case at all, whatsoever. The other flip of that is that there are these other things, other people. The flip of that is that there's oftentimes people that just try and be so zen and think karma will sort it out and do this sort of weird law of attraction, secret type work, and hopefully just because I think about it, it comes to me and I'm going to just go with the flow. There's this weird balance between, do I push, do I pull, do I sit here and wait, do I go after what I want? And what ends up happening is people that get stuck with this idea of like, what is the right way to approach life? Well, the good news is there is no right way to approach life. You can approach life any fucking way you want. There is a wrong way though, and the wrong way is not doing what's true for you in any form. If you are living your life based on what other people think or what you think you should be doing based on other people, then it is fair to say that's probably the wrong way to live. The right way to live though, there isn't one. You can do it any which way you fucking like. And that's an important point to make. So there's this identity. Now, identity in itself is a whole nother conversation, but there's this identity that I refer to as the present high performer. And what it means is that, and it's something that I've struggled with in the past, is like, do I go after what I want? Do I tell the world what I want? Do I push for what I want? Or do I sit back and wait? What am I meant to do? Please, universe, tell me, the gods, Rumi, someone. And then I found this balance, and I'm not after balance in the sense of work-life balance, but this balance is probably more to do with a paradox that both can exist. You can be present while simultaneously be pushing your potential and performance in the real world. And it's interesting because the further that we remove ourselves from this world that we've live in, some people call it a matrix, the easier it is to engage with this matrix, the easier it is to actually be able to separate your actual self from your persona, your personality, the identity. And the better we can do that, the stronger sense of self we actually have. And it means that we can change, we can adapt. We're not tied to this idea or stuck to this idea that we are our identity, that we are our personality, and that is who we are, and that's just the way it is. Your personality, literally derived from the Greek word persona, which means the mask we wear at the drama, is something that we develop in the face of our primary caregivers to be able to interact with the world around us. And so our ability to be able to grow past that and see that our personality can change and adapt and evolve and mature and so forth is one of the most fundamental components to being able to be present, for one, but two, really perform at your best. And a lot of people struggle with this because a lot of people align their outward successes with their inward sense of esteem, their value, their worth. And what ends up happening is that it's a bit of a bind because the more that I succeed externally, the more I feel good internally. But if I don't succeed externally, then I don't feel good internally. And so it's like, well, it kind of motivates me. So it's actually just a motivation strategy, for one. It's not actually you. But if you grow out of that, you don't stop being successful or competitive or want to pursue high performance. You do it by choice, not necessity. And that is far more powerful. It is far more powerful. And so if you find yourself that you keep pushing, you keep trying, and you can't really get this weird balance of presence and performance, you got to know that you actually can do both. In fact, performance is presence in action. Your ability to perform, whether it be states of flow, whether it be your genius state, whether it be your capacity to perform under pressure, is being present. So this capacity to be present in the little moments and perform in the big moments can coexist. I'm going to teach you how. Now, there's many different ways we can break this down, but I'm going to break it down into 4 different areas. First one's goals, second is skills, third is self, and fourth is resources. Now, when we look at this, we first need to think about goals as a vision. Now, I have a framework called DENT Goals, which I absolutely love and highly recommend. I've done a couple of videos on that. You should be able to find that on the YouTube channel. It'll probably be linked below anyway. But your DENT Goals allow you to go, what's my theme for the year? Like, what want to achieve over the next 12 months? What are my 90-day projects? How do I need to show up every single week? And what do I need to do daily? And how do I need to show up daily to be able to achieve that? And it breaks down your literally next 12 months day by day in about 90 minutes or less. And so your DENT goals is great because it allows you not just to set goals and a vision. You actually start to go, who do I need to be? How do I need to show up? What does my energetic signature need to be in order to be the person that owns those things? And that is fundamental. That is crucial. If you do not step into that, you will not own it because you're always in a space of wanting. If you're in a space of wanting and the universe acts like a mirror, it means that you're telling the universe you don't have it and it's going to keep giving you what you already are. The universe gives you what you already are. And so your capacity to move past wanting to being is crucial. Very crucial. In fact, you won't be able to achieve it without that. The second is, based on your goals, what skills you need to develop. What are the skills in the areas that allow you to actually live your goals? What are the habits? What are the behaviors? What are the fitness levels? What are the finances? What are the skills that you need to be able to develop to be able to move into that area? The second is, based on your goals, what are the skills you need to develop? What are the skills you need to double down on to be able to achieve what your actual goals are? Because you will need to achieve skills. But this is also coincides with number 3, which is yourself. You need to separate skills from yourself. I'm going to talk about the difference between confidence and esteem shortly, but confidence is associated with skills, esteem is associated with self, and people get those two things mixed up all the time. The last is resources, and resources is really looking at what are the other resources that I need. Do I need to have team members? Do I need to get part of groups? Do I need to have certain access to facilities, or do I need to get funding from someone, or do I need to work more hours? Do I need to work less hours? What are the resources that I need? And there's a really powerful frame of mind that comes with resources that we don't lack resources, we lack resourcefulness. So start with where you are with what you have and build from there. That's the only thing. Sometimes people don't start because they go, I don't have the resources. It's like, well, you got to figure out what you can do with what you have and get started so you can find your second step based on where you're at now. And if you can't do that with where you're at now, then you're never going to get to step 3, 4, 5, 6, ever. You need to go, where am I at now and what can I do with the resources available to me? So there's a couple of key principles that we need to take on in mind when we look at this. One is that you got to play the game. And what I really mean when I talk about playing the game is you actually need to remove yourself from the game and you need to opt into the game. Now the game could be business, the game could be university, the game could be sport, whatever it is, you need to see yourself as separate to the game, see your results as separate to the game, and you need to opt in to play the game. Your ability to do this is profound because now we're in a space where we actually start choosing our identity based on how we want to interact with the game, as opposed to it works for me or it doesn't work for me, or I'm good or I'm not good, all that sort of stuff. So when we start to see the goals that we have as a game and start to remove our sense of self from our persona and start to adjust our persona based on how we need to show up in the game, everything changes. Everything. Now, I'm not saying in that you need to think about, okay, how do I manipulate myself in order to make other people think X, Y, or Z. That's not what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is based on your vision, your goals, and who you need to be in order to show up every single day to achieve those goals. How do I step into that? How do I adjust my persona, which is basically my trajectory, in order to be able to do that, to be able to live that, to be the person that owns those results, for those results to be just normal? Because if you feel like your goals are outside of your default and your normal, then chances are they'll always stay there. Because you need to be able to step into a space in your life where your goals feel normal. That it's almost like it's inevitable. You're going to achieve them, it's just a matter of time. And you've got to keep chipping away. But your trajectory is crucial. You have to be able to set that first. You also need to approach this from an open head, open heart, and open gut stance. Now, people usually have one of those things that might be open, and they're usually somewhat closed in the other two, give or take. So your ability to be open head is open-minded. Are you open to different ways of thinking? Are you open to holding different beliefs? Are you open to different ideas? Are you open to being wrong? Your open heart is, am I open to feeling my feels, like letting my emotions actually be expressed and feeling them and naming them. Naming and saming them, I call it. And the reason why I call it naming and saming is that you got to name the emotion, then you got to be the same as it. You got to let it move through. Emotion is just energy in motion. And then when we talk about open gut, I mean action. You got to be able to take action without associating it being good or bad. You just need to be able to take action for action's sake so that you can get feedback. All feedback is information feeding back to you based on the actions that you took or didn't take. Really important. And then the last thing is that you want to think about this going, I want to master my body, mind, food, and time, or body, self, food, and time. And if you can master those 4 areas, you can play the game any which way you like. It's really crucial. And this is part of the Boss Fit Matrix. Once again, I've done videos on this as well. But if you can master the staged development of body, self, food, and time, then you can opt into any game you want to play and adjust accordingly. It's just up to you. So I want to give you a couple of practices that you can do with this. One is a self-awareness practice. And it feeds into the other one, which is to do with confidence and esteem. And I want to give you this one first. It is imperative that you can remove your self-esteem from how other people see you or from your skill level. Now, if you had a particular set of skills and you haven't used them for a little while, and then you go back into that domain to use them, it is commonplace for you to be less confident with those skills in that domain. What's important is that you need to be able to separate your sense of self away from that. So your esteem, your worth is inherent. There's no price tag on that. It doesn't go up and down. The conditions we place on our self-worth forces them to go up and down. So we need to learn to practice that. If I suck at something again, that doesn't mean that I'm a bad person. We need to remove all these conditions so that we can have a healthy sense of self while sucking at something to get better at it. Because otherwise we never start something, we never feel embarrassment, which is an unexplored emotion. We never allow ourselves to actually get started with just where we're at with what we have. We're always worried about what other people think or if it's going to be good enough. It's not good enough, and that's what makes it good enough. So just get started. So you need to be able to move this self-awareness idea away from your self-confidence. One of the ways you can do this, you can start journaling, and people are like, I don't want to journal. Fine, whatever, doesn't really matter. You're journaling anyway because you're fucking talking to yourself. You just don't write it down. So all journaling or meditation is, or a self-awareness practice is just observing your thoughts. And all you're practicing isn't like, what are the thoughts? You're practicing separating yourself away from your thoughts. So you start become the observer of your thoughts rather than thinker of your thoughts. Become the observer of your thoughts, not the thinker of your thoughts. Crucial. It's the difference between I am the cloud or I'm simply watching the cloud. So there's this really, really good exercise that I love called morning pages. Julia Cameron spoke about it in her book, The Artist's Way. And in the morning, you just write. There's no rhyme or reason or goal or place that you need to be. You simply just write. And she recommends, it's from an artist perspective, like a writer, but she recommends to write 3 pages. Write whatever. I write however you write. Doesn't matter. But the more that you do that, the easier it is. It's called a brain drain. You just get shit out of your brain and you start to see your thoughts objectively rather than seeing them as your thoughts. You will start to see the world completely different. In fact, and I love this quote, we don't see the world as it is, we see the world as we are. And the further we can create that distance, the easier life becomes because we start to change our thinking based upon what's required in the moment rather than how we've been for our whole life. And that can change everything. That's one. It's kind of 2 put together, but let's call it 1. Your next one is your daily default and your daily practice. Same thing, 2 things, but I'm going to put them into 1. Your daily default is, who do I need to be? What does my energetic signature need to be in order to be, do, have, and own the future that I want? So I need to think about the person that has what I want. How do they think? How do they feel? How do they behave every single day? Who do they belong to? And then how do I step into that today so that I can start to make that feel normal and start to actually take the actions to be able to be the type of person that owns that, not just achieves it, but owns that. And so it allows you to write down all these things. How do you think? How do you talk to yourself? What are the conversations you have? How do you describe emotions to yourself? How do you describe yourself when you're tired? What do you think about training? What do you think about skills? All of this sort of stuff. You want to think about, what do they think? And it's just a future version of you anyway. You're just bringing it to now. And then what do they do? And so you've got to think about your daily default, as in how you show up, and your daily do's, in fact, of what you do every single day. What are the things, 1 to 3, that they do every single day that's going to help drive you towards your goal? Now, I go through that in the Dent Goals. You'll be able to find a video here somewhere. But there's some simple approaches for you to be able to become where you're at now and stuck in this weird middle ground of, do I need to be present or can I be a performer? Is it okay? Zen people competitive, all that. Yes, they fucking compete. The best thing you can do, the highest form of thing you can do is bring the best version of you to any given moment. So the present high performer is that. Whether that's at home with your kids, whether that's at work, or whether that's with your friends for a coffee, right? Or whether that's on the sporting field or in the boardroom, wherever. You can be the present high performer. They can both coexist. And more often than not, when we talk about authenticity, that's what we're referring to. That's me done. I'm out. Until next time, peace and pizza. I'll see you soon.